Matt, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm super pumped to have you. And if you don't know
Yeah.
my friend Matt, I'm telling you what, you're in for a real treat today. Hang around, and I promise he's going to drop at least one bomb of a question that could keep you up tonight. So just brace yourself, prepare now. And yet, Matt, thank you so much for being with us, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much. Here we go.
So I know who you are. However, for those out there that don't know you, would you share a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just a guy figuring things out one day at a
Hmm.
time. Uh, Husband, father, brother, dad. Uh, you know, um, again, I've had the privilege to do some really cool things. I'm currently working in a leadership and a coaching capacity here in the real estate space. It's something I've been doing for the last 14 years in sales and in training and coaching and leadership. And um, it's kind of where I found my home and my niche. And um, it I've had an opportunity to blend a lot of different passions with personal development, with optimization, with achievement and sales and systems and strategies. And it's really fun and interesting in how life kind of brings all of your experiences together to just get you set up or ready for the next opportunity. I don't know if that was an answer. That was a pretty
It's amazing
that
how
was a
that
pretty
works.
weird answer to your question.
No.
I'm an author. I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. Um, and um, yeah, that's in short. That's what
Hey,
I
well, I
do.
know there's
Right.
more you could add, and yet thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself. And absolutely, thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself, Matt. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
And you wrote a book, and we're gonna get to that book. And I have some questions for you because I'm real curious.
Sure.
I haven't read
Yeah.
it yet, so I'm pumped. And I desire and trust that I'll be purchasing a signed copy. So I have my hand up, ready to go. And yet, I was just reminded a few days ago. I love this yearly memory on Facebook
Hmm.
of, and you already know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And it's so funny because I want to know, is there anything that stood out to you that day? And before you answer that, I
Yeah.
want to share with you something I'll never forget. It was you and I have crossed paths due to business and the world of real
Hmm.
estate. We've been on many different Zoom calls and leadership meetings and classes together. And yet, the day that I'm referring to, that Matt's nodding his head about, is that we he invited me to run, and so I told my buddy Matt, I'm in. I'm going to run the Kansas City Marathon the first time, and I promised my buddy Matt at this point we would run. I think it was 12 or 13 miles together.
It was a 12 mile. Yeah, it was a
Well,
12-mile long run according to the
yeah,
plan, right?
and so boy, I'll tell you what, I got myself in a little bit of a pickle that day, and yet I'm glad I did because at the end of the day, talk is cheap. Where the rubber meets the road is taking action in life, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
business or preparing for a marathon, I'm going to bet on the person following a plan and taking massive action. And yet, I wasn't following my plan. I had the
Mm.
20-week running plan. I wasn't following it, and yet I guess I was good for me for being committed enough to honor my commitment to you to show up and run because I did that. And yet that's the day that I almost died. I wore two shirts that were both like heavy cotton,
Double
obviously
cotton
not a runner
t-shirts,
shirt.
all black.
Terrible, right? And all black.
All
Matt
black.
finally
It
said,
was
"Hey,"
90 degrees.
Matt said there was this point he was like, "Hey Chris, what's your heart rate, man?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I looked at my Garmin and it was crazy high. He's like, "Let's go inside and cool off a little bit, get hydrated." But this is where I wanted to go with that, Matt. You said something, you asked me a question or you made a statement that I'll never forget. And this is what you said. I made the statement that I've been running. I haven't been running much, but when I do, I turn it up on the treadmill and just get after it. I don't
Mm.
pay attention to my heart rate. And you said, Chris, you know what that's called? And I said, no, what? Like I was genuinely curious. Do you remember what you said next?
I think it was something about ego.
Yeah, you said, Chris, that's called ego. And it hit me
Hmm.
like a ton of bricks. And I'm proud to
Yeah.
say that's when I pivoted. I number one started wearing a more thin shirt next time after puking after that run on our way down to the family lake house. And it was terrible. We pulled over. My father-in-law was in the car. Like it was this whole thing, and yet it is what it is. Point is I'll tell you what, here's what I love about you, Matt, and you'll learn this about Matt, is that there'll just be something that he says that just sticks with you. And what I love about your coaching style is that it's like you just wait for the moment and then the question or the statement pops in your mind, boom, and you just drop the bomb and let it hit, man. And you're one of the most phenomenal coaches I know. And anytime we meet,
Wow.
whether it's for coffee or business, I bring my pen and paper and have it ready to go because I know there's something that you're going to share that's going to resonate with me. We just seem to stay synced up in life for some reason.
Well, shoot. I mean, what do you say after that other than like, thank you. I'm grateful. I've got goosebumps. Boy, just that memory is incredible. It's actually, so that bib right there, that 6-9, that's the marathon that we were both training for. And I have it written there, October. It said, October 16th, 2021 was the one that we were preparing for. And it was probably the fourth that I was attempting to get done. And I either would get inundated with work or get distracted, etc. And it was the first one that I really had some momentum for. And so one of the reasons why I called you is again, one of the reasons, and one of the topics that are in the book is that sometimes we have to create different levels of accountability. And one of those levels of accountability can be internal, which is through like announcing it to the world that you're about to do something. And then hopefully the fear that where the pain of embarrassment for not doing it is great enough to put you out there to do the things. For me, that works most of the times, but it doesn't always work. And so I know when I get partnered up with somebody, or like having a partner, a peer partner, an accountability partner, if you will, helps. And so for my long runs, I oftentimes will reach out. Number one, because running 12 miles by yourself isn't the funnest thing.
Right.
And so when I reach out to you, or when I put out a call to, hey, is anyone else training for this marathon that has a long run this weekend that would like to go nice and slow with me, come do it. And I was thrilled that you answered the call. One of the things that really sticks out to me from that run is, we had known each other probably for 5 years, 6 years prior to that run, which was 3 years ago to like around this week. And I didn't really know you. And one of the cool things that came out of that run was a new appreciation for the journey that you had gone through and some of the challenges and the struggles that you had experienced and you were dealing with. And so I just remember on that run going, wow, there's a lot to this guy. Holy cow. Right. And I was just so impressed with your grit to finish. And I definitely at some point was a little concerned whether I was going to carry you or not. And yet here's the other thing that I recall, right? Here's so that was October. So we're in August right now. So that was in July. It was right at the end of July. The race is in October, and you really got after it. And I remember seeing you at the start of that race, and then you had taken off. And I remember we were fairly close to one another, and it was right around mile 22 where I was in. It was like just going past UMKC's campus before you started coming back around, right? It was like going back down through Volker. And I remember seeing you up ahead, and I was like, I thought like, I'll just catch up to Chris. I couldn't catch you. You just kept going, and you had taken off, and I was like, good for him. And at that time, I was also going through my own self-talk and pain cave at that moment. At the same time, also coming to the realization, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to actually finish this thing. And so anyway, that was a super fun memory. And I just so what's interesting is that since you got real purposeful, right? And with your book, The Path to Purpose, not an accident. When you got real purposeful with your training, I see your stuff. I see your training. I see your heart rate. I see your speeds, and I couldn't hang with you now.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. I got my daughter, Aubrey, who you met at the bowling party, I believe. She just turned 16, and she's doing her first triathlon. She's doing Kill Creek. day after tomorrow, Saturday. So super pumped to
Fantastic.
be doing
That's
that
cool.
with her. So thank you for that, Matt.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so let's pivot. You're releasing your new book. Tell us about that. What's the title of it?
Well, before we even get to that,
Yeah.
this book wouldn't have happened without you,
Hmm.
right? Like, so what's interesting is I've had a book. So my mission is to really help and impact and affect as many people as I can on whatever platform that's available to me. And I've had on my heart a book, and I never knew what it was specifically. For about the last 7 years, I recall it was about 2015, 16, about 2017 is when I got real serious, and it was on my vision board to write a book, and it would never come to fruition. We would always get busy, and I'm not a writer, and like the self-talk would start to come in, and then we visited about a year ago and sat down, and I was like, so what's going on in your world? What's going on in your life? And you're like, well, I just finished my book. And I was like, wait, you're writing a book? Tell me more. Like how, and what's the process? And then that's where you introduced me to your partner, Cody. And I was like, I need to, you're a writing coach.
Yeah.
And I said, I again, because I believe in coaching, all coaches have coaches. And I said, I really would love to talk to Cody. And so Cody and I got together, and I shared with him a couple ideas, and I thought I was going to write a book about this. And then I shared with him another idea and topic, and he goes, no. He goes, that's your book. And I said, are you sure? He's like, don't you feel it? And we were sitting at a table at the public market, and I was getting goosebumps, and he's getting goosebumps. He's like, the Holy Spirit here right now is telling us that we need to write this book. And I'm like, you're right. I'm absolutely overwhelmed right now emotionally and everything. Let's do it. And so the book is called The Entrepreneur's Regret. And it's I haven't quite finished like the tagline or the subtitle or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
in my mind it's The Entrepreneur's Regret, and it was the book that your family wants you to read. And it's for all entrepreneurs, and it's really more a cautionary book for all entrepreneurs, and it's a book that all family members of entrepreneurs should probably purchase and give to their family member, their loved one who is an entrepreneur. And what it is that as entrepreneurs, we say that we go into whatever endeavor we're doing to create freedom and flexibility and fortune for the people that we love the most. However, along the way and through the processes, as we start to grow and build these businesses, if we're not careful and then we don't truly operate and treat it as a business, we begin to start creating really bad habits and these traps that actually pull us away and sacrifice the people that we said that we were doing this for. And what that turns into at first is a few evenings where you miss dinner, or a weekend where you've got to go chase the deal, or a dinner where your phone's on the table to answer the call, or whatever it is, or you start missing the gym, or like so many different things. And so in the chase for freedom, we actually become trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mission through creating this book is to give entrepreneurs a path and an awareness to course correct before it's too late. And the key inside this book is around being present, right? And our lack of presence and our lack of commitment and being all in wherever we are, the symptom of that is guilt in the other areas of our life. And the three key areas of their life, or the framework around the book, is our leadership, our love, and our life, which is so your work, your family, and your personal life. And so those three areas inside of it, the key to that is being present, being positively present. And so it's not, and for instance, well, at home, I know a lot of people who are present and yet they're not there. So it's not about physical presence. For my family, presence for them equals attention, equals engagement, equals etc. Right? So just being there isn't enough, because there's been plenty of times where I was there and not there, if you will. Right? So that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of the book.
So when you say presence, Walk
Hmm.
us through, like, what does it look like to be present? Because I would agree, Matt, that man, there's times where I'm in the front room and the family's there, and yet my mind is elsewhere. So walk us through, like, what do you mean when you say be present?
So okay, so when it comes, we've both are familiar with the book The One Thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, they wrote together. They wrote a really fantastic book called The One Thing. And in The One Thing, the key principle is like, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easy or unnecessary? And that core question should be like something that we ask ourselves in all the areas of our life. And in the book, they talk about the 7 key areas of life. In this book, I only talk about the 3, right? Like let's start with the 3 and then we can build from there. And so when it comes to being fully present at work, it's about really understanding what needs to be done in order to move the needle, to grow your business, to grow your companies, such that when you're finished or when you've clocked out and you go home, you know you've done the activities that math out the maths that if you do that every single day, you will hit your goals for the year, so that when you go home and you have committed that, well, here, that time with your family. And like, let me not get it twisted. My family doesn't want to see me for 3 hours straight when I come home. They literally only desire about 20 minutes. However, those 20 minutes really need to be quality and they need to be genuine and authentic. And then they're going to do their own thing.
Right.
Right. So the difference is that when I get home, if I know I've done everything that I needed to do when at work, I don't have to have the phone. I don't have to be able, like, I don't have to answer. I'm not worried about missing a lead or missing an inquiry because I've done the activities. My pipeline is full. I know that through my coach, we've created a map and a plan for our year, for the quarter, for the month, and for the week. And each week and every day, I've got certain leading indicators that if executed on, I know that even if I didn't set an appointment today, but I've done the activities, I've made the connections, I've made the conversations, and I've really put the time into the business, it's going to map out. So
Right.
being fully present at work means doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed
Yeah.
to do it. And so in the book, we talk about some of the core tools and the frameworks and around time management, accountability systems, etc. As well. So then when we're at home, we can have dinners without the phone. We can go on vacations without Wi-Fi, right? Like how many trips have we gone on? And we're like, as you're there, it's the most stressful thing because most any self-employed or entrepreneur individual knows that the moment you go on vacation, that's when everyone's decides to do business.
Yeah.
Everyone's business takes off when you're on vacation. And then you're on vacation and you're sitting here either putting out fires or managing stuff for whenever you get back. And there's these milestones and these memories happening. You're on the phone. You're not on the ride. You're not experiencing the moment.
Right.
And the whole time, everyone's just saying, hey, come and join us. And you're like, how do you think we pay for this?
Yeah. Yeah. True story.
Right. And then all of a sudden, like, I only have 4 more summers with my oldest daughter, who's 14, and I've got 7 more summers with my other. I don't have unlimited summers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like, it gets me kind of emotional about it. Because like I am wired to drive and grow and create. And so if left unattended, it's one of those things. As an entrepreneur, I feel like, generating business and going after it justifies the means. But at the end of the day, it's like when the business is done and my daughters are grown and they get a choice whether or not they want to come and visit us for the holidays, it's going to be how these summers were handled and how those moments were taken care of.
Man.
I want to be to the point where I don't have to ask for them to come and visit us. I would like for them to just be here.
Right.
And that starts now.
Man, that's so good, Matt. We just got back from spending a total of 7 days on vacation. We went down to Panama City. And there, I have this deal where it was going sideways a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And we did a 5-hour fishing trip. My son, daughter, and then myself, and my wife and our oldest daughter Shaylee went to a coffee shop, did some girly things, went shopping, went to the coffee shop, and we were going to pick him up from this coffee shop to go to lunch. And my wife said, "Hey, I want you to come into this coffee shop and check it out. It's so neat." And so I went in there and my phone buzzed and I ended up sitting down, taking a call that took probably 15, 20, 25 minutes. I was in there so long, my wife finally came back. It's like, "Is everything okay? The kids are starving. We got to leave. I'll drive. Just get in the car." And so I wrapped up the phone call. Actually, the deal just closed yesterday. And I'm thankful. However, I'm flipping through the photos and it occurred to me just the other day, yesterday, it occurred to me I missed that whole moment.
Yeah.
I missed it. They wanted to show me the outside setup and all of this. I missed the whole experience, and
Yeah.
I ended up just seeing the photos of it. And so what you're saying really resonates with me, Matt, because when I launched my business in 2007, I was at a spot where I was ready to change my life.
Yeah.
Right. I was an eager beaver. I took 46 listings my first 12 months, having no clue about the industry. And I only sold like 20 of them. I had no idea what I was doing. And yet, the reality of what was happening, my concern is it's all too common for us business owners, people that are entrepreneurial in nature and business owners, is this idea of running and gunning, working 24/7, hustle and grinding. And I heard a gentleman that's a mentor of mine say that this season of life, he's a 60-year-old man, and he's not about hustle and grinding. He's more interested in ebbing and flowing. And I thought, ooh, I could get down with that. I like how that sounds.
Yeah.
Because those moments, they're fragile. Once they're gone, they're gone. There's no unwinding it and doing it over again.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, presence is everything. And I mean, and it goes vice versa, right? So like, if I'm not purposefully present at home, then when I'm at work, if my phone rings and it's my family, then I feel like I have to answer it because I haven't given them attention or whatever it is. And then maybe there's drama, or maybe there was a fight, or maybe there was something else that happened at home. And then I take that to work, and that gets me out of my counterbalance at work because I feel guilty that I didn't, I wasn't able to do X and I wasn't able to do Y, and I didn't ask the right question. And then I was a little short here, and I probably should have eaten before we talked at that point. And like all of those things as well. And so, one of the frameworks that I use when I'm at home is one. It's a culmination of several different tips that I've received from my coaches along the way, and in the love area, in the love, I don't know, there's three. So in the love trident or trifecta, if you will, is love is spelled time, Time, right? And the way that I break that down is the T stands for take a second and disconnect. One of our mutual friends, Dave Johns, actually shared this story once before. And he said, I no longer walk through the door on the phone. And it was really interesting. Like, I was like, that's really, let me think about that. And then I'd forgotten about it. And I remember coming home, or early on in my career, I had a deal blowing up that was going to be one of the biggest commissions. And we were counting on it because as agents, we've always pre-counted our commissions that are coming in, and and this thing was falling apart. And I remember the anxiety and the fear of this thing not closing and figuring out like, oh shoot, how are we going to pay our bills, and et cetera. And you got the hairs on the back of your neck come up, and you got that cold sweat and the stress coming on. And I remember walking in the door, and at that time my daughters were like 3 and 6. And they hadn't seen me in about 10 hours. And they had been waiting all day to see me. And they just heard the garage door open and the truck come in. And as I'm walking through the door, they're coming at me with so much excitement and so much love. And I'm on the phone in this chaos. And I'm like, please, I'm on the phone. And I looked to my wife and I was like, can you please help and take care of this right now? And I was like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta fix this. I remember going over into the dining room And like having the conversation coming back, and I'm like, well, where are the girls? And they're like, they're upstairs. Like they just wanted to give you a hug. And I'm like, that's what he's talking about. And so at that moment, I also like, so at that time, I remember like, do you ever recall watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So what's fun is I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, and what I didn't know is like Mr. Rogers was filmed in
Oh,
Pittsburgh as the Pittsburgh the public broadcasting
okay.
network. And however, what did he do at the beginning of every show? So they always had him. They always had him coming up to the front door, and he starts singing the song. It's
Yeah,
such a
taking
good
off his
right.
sweater and his shoes and
Yes.
yeah.
When he comes in, he takes off his work clothes,
Mm-hmm.
puts them on, like puts them in the closet, puts on his cardigan,
Oh, that's
changes his
right.
shoes, and he completely shifts and transitions into Mr. Rogers.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, he took a second and then transitioned. And so what I do now, if I'm on the phone when I come home, I don't pull in. I keep driving. I do a loop until I get off the phone, hang up the phone, and then take a second, take a breath, and just I do a little affirmation saying, this will be taken care of. And I'm here, I'm excited, I'm ready to see my family. And then I would walk in and here's the thing. They don't need to know, or they don't care actually what just happened for me. I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to connect and engage, etc. I work from home a lot now, so I'm downstairs, right? And when I have a routine of shutting down the office space or shutting down the space and then taking a second, and then for me it's a walk that goes upstairs, and I got another door when I come through. So, I don't have a cardigan or house shoes to put on. However, there was an agent that I knew that would get up from his table, take off his jacket, hang it up, and he had a hook in his office in his room, and then he would go off and he would come back to work. He would put his jacket on. So like he used a physical transition, etc. So the T in time is take a second and transition. Come in, right? The I stands for inquire about me. So get curious. For me, it's about asking him, how was your day? What's going on? Right? Like, how was your life? What was the thing you're most excited about today? How did you fail? What did you learn? Like, just asking questions. The M is make me feel loved.
You said that I was inquire.
Inquire. Yeah,
Okay.
Inquire about me, right? Inquire about me. Ask questions. And as a great interviewer and as a great coach, that's the one thing that we're trained to do is ask great questions. And yet the people that we love the most about, we don't ask them enough questions, right? Like we just assume. Like think about your relationship with your wife or your kids. Like so often I don't ask enough questions. And I may be missing some really cool stories. So it's that. So it's inquire about them. And then the M is make me feel loved, right? Don't tell me you love me. Make me feel loved. And this goes right in line with the video that you just posted with you and your wife on the porch around love languages, right? And so often, like you had talked about in the video, we feel like we're showing love through our own lens, and that doesn't necessarily land or resonate with the other side. Right. And so I know my children have very, very specific and very unique love languages. Same thing with my wife. My wife is also very acts of service.
Okay.
My one daughter, though, is very much quality time.
Yeah.
Very much quality time, and it could be just a ride to the gas station. Right. But that's enough, or a ride to Home Depot, or just to go with me. Right. And the other thing is words of affirmation. She loves to tell jokes. She likes to make me laugh. And those are those things. Right. So the M is make me feel loved. And then the E is empathize and encourage me. one of the biggest challenges that I have as a coach and as a man, and I can say this, is I am wired to fix and protect. And so I want to go straight to it. I want to fix it. And as a coach, I want to get right to the mindset. Like, let's go. And I have failed in that capacity in my relationships with my family, in the sense that they don't want a coach. They want their dad. And sometimes their dad just needs to sit with them and hug them and say, I'm so sorry, this sucks. Right? This super sucks. I can't believe that that person said that to you or sent you that text, or I'm so sorry you feel left out, and I'm so sorry that, whatever it is, right? And I used to for the longest time I struggled with it, and we have a family coach, therapist, call them whatever you want. They're a coach, right? It's an expert in our family that I go to for advice because I can't see in the weeds sometimes. And I asked the question, I said, okay, so how do I balance this between enabling someone's negative mindset and then helping them come out of it? And she says, well, coach, how's it been working for you so far?
Mm.
And I said, oh, cool. That'll be $150. And so that's the thing, right? Is like I had to completely shift my mindset around that to just empathize and encourage. I can't coach. My family doesn't need a coach. They come to me when they're ready for coaching. That's it.
So the story that you shared about coming home, being on the phone, the heat of the moment, you asked your wife to take care of your children so you could attend to business.
Yeah.
Was that a defining moment then?
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, it was one that like really, like, it caused me pause. It hurt me. It hurt. It hurt a lot, right? And here's the thing, like we don't necessarily change until it's so uncomfortable that we have to.
Yeah.
That was one of those moments that made change a lot more palatable for me. I was like, I don't want to do that again. This sucks. I don't like that. I don't like how that feels. That doesn't mean that I didn't mess up like at least 37 times since then. And please, I just want everybody that's listening, just know, like, I'm not the expert. I'm sharing with you my journey. I'm still on the journey. I'm just letting you in on the journal. Right? This is a book, not from an expert. This is my journal of this process so far. I am imperfect. And this book is also a reminder for me to course correct when necessary. That's probably been the biggest aha and the realization around writing this book and working with Cody on putting this book together, is like having to slow down enough and really put all of these thoughts and processes and accumulate these tips and these systems and these frameworks together. It's now given me like, oh, okay. So like it's this and it's this and it's this. And it's given me a lot of clarity. It's also given me a lot of reflection. It's also allowed me to just even become a better dad and a better business person and just a better version of myself.
Wow. What's one thing that you've learned about yourself by going through the process of even writing a book? Because it is quite the process.
The one thing I've learned about myself is that it would be the most selfish thing I can do to not share this story. And I think so often we feel like we have something we could share, and then we stop because we feel like we're going to be judged. Whether or not someone's going to be like, oh, who do you think you are? Like, oh, you're no expert. Look, listen, I am flawed. I have failed. I've got a lot of things I really regret. I've made some huge mistakes in my life. Like, I've been on the brink, more times than I ever want to admit. And, a part of me is like, why would you write a book about this? Like, you're a fraud. And I'm like, no, I'm not a fraud. I am flawed. I'm not a fraud.
That's good.
Right? Like, I'm getting through this, I'm attacking it head on, and I'm working as hard as I can to become the best version of me for everybody that I know. Period. And if I didn't share it and pretended like everything is okay, then I would be a fraud.
Right.
That is a fraud.
It's a good point. One of the things that I wrestled with, Matt, is this idea that I, what I realized about myself and learned about myself is that, man, I was so concerned about the opinions of others, right? People would perceive me
Yeah.
as somehow thinking I'm a know-it-all.
Yep.
Definitely still struggle with imposter syndrome, right? And
Oh, 100%.
also, what was that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
get it.
also thinking, man, there's so many. What is it that I have to say that hasn't already said by someone that's really awesome? And
Mm.
realizing that, man, people are, and you really encouraged me with this, if I remember correctly, is when you and I met. Um, Maybe I'm getting that mixed up with another person. For a point, I know somebody encouraged me that, hey, there's people out there that, yes, other people may have a similar experience and similar lessons, but you're uniquely qualified by how you talk, your stories, how you say what you desire to say, the words you
Yeah.
choose to use will
Yeah.
resonate with certain people.
Yes.
You're uniquely qualified because of your brokenness or
Yep.
challenges you've been through to impact certain people out there. And
Yeah.
that
There's
was
nothing.
really helpful.
There's nothing new out there. There's no new
Yeah,
idea. There's new concept.
right.
It's my accumulation, and it's the way that I've processed this and the way that I choose to package this that may make the biggest impact on somebody.
It's so true.
I trust. I hope that it does.
Yeah.
Right. And even if there's one or two concepts out there that can eliminate or minimize some of the pain and the discomfort that I've had to go through, and I can save somebody that, like, oh gosh, it's so worth it.
So good. What's the favorite part of your book, Matt?
My favorite part in it, I think the part that I surprised me the most is how emotional the family section for me has been, right? Um, and because that is so fragile and so finite, right? Like we can build and rebuild, and we can start a business, we can close a business, we can start that over and over again, and yet, you know, our relationships are so fragile and so valuable. That's the part, and it's the part that we neglect first, or we take for granted. And it's not the challenge that I see most entrepreneurs go through with family is the family's also just as excited about these endeavors as we are. And so we get permission to veer off track for, like, at the beginning, like it's well-meaning. However, we take it too far, and we never come back. Like, our families are okay to, like, miss a dinner or two, but not every night.
Right. Yeah.
They're okay if we travel 1 or 2 nights a week, but not a week at a time, like, for whatever. Like, we get permission at first, and there may be silent resentment. What happens is, if we don't come back and course correct, that silent resentment grows until it's too much, and then it's too late. Right? And so many people go, I don't know what happened. I didn't see it coming. It was sudden. And it wasn't sudden. It was gradual until it became sudden.
So true. Yeah. Go ahead, man.
No. So I think that was probably the most surprising part, is like how emotional that piece got for me.
On the under the family, because family is one of the, in the triangle of circles, family is one of them.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. With just the nature of being a business owner, I started working 7 days a week. For all of the right reasons, as I insinuated earlier. Like, I was ready to change our life, in particular financially at the time, in my early 20s and I was going for it. However, I started working 7 days a week. And that would have been okay for maybe a few months or a year. But what happened is 1 year turned to two, the late night dinner to turn to the late night going out with the guys. And it's crazy because as I reflect back, Matt, one of the things that was tragic for me, and I know everybody's story is differently, everybody's story is different, everybody's boundaries are different. And yet for me, it got to a point to where my wife shares, because she remembers where I don't honestly, that she put my stuff on the front porch and said I had to leave because of my drinking. I was going after changing the family tree, some things financially. And yet, man, I really started doing some of the things that my dad come to find out struggle with. Started drinking and partying with the boys, which may be fine for a weekend or two in moderation, but it just got to where it was excessive. Where I honestly, I don't remember that as I don't remember many things that happened then because it got to the point where she was right. I became an alcoholic. I was drinking by myself, drinking every day after work. And true story, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, Matt. It got to a point with my drinking that in the office at Coldwell Banker, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but oh, it's my podcast. I can say what I want. I forgot the best part of this, Matt. I kept in my drawer, I was in a cubicle and I kept a small bottle of vodka just right in my office door at the real estate office, man. And looking back, it's amazing. My point is one thing leads to another. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to habits, it's amazing. Some habits will be supportive to where we desire to get to as a family.
Yeah.
And then other habits could lead us completely the opposite direction. Yeah. And so I appreciate now what I know about your book. I love that. I'm amazed. And I love the fact that you went so personal to something that you could have just set aside out of convenience and say, no, it's too raw. It's too real. I have the 10 motivational lessons I've learned. And yet you went as personal as it gets.
Yeah.
And I know firsthand from writing my own book, like that is not easy. And good for you for putting yourself out there.
No, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary because again, I mean, we're human. We like there's judgment. There's fear.
Want to be right and look good all the time, right?
All the time.
So I got these lights and one of my favorite. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us wrestle with that, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in wrapping up today's conversation,
sure.
Is there anything else that you would like to share before I ask you where do we go to order our copy?
Oh my gosh. Well, the last component of it is the one that what's interesting is that even naturally through this conversation, we save it to the end. We almost don't even talk about it, and that's personal. And that's the personal part of the triangle. And for me, the personal part of the triangle and being positively present in that is around protecting my physical and my mental health. And the challenge in entrepreneurship is we start hanging our hat on the accolades or the metrics of achievement, and we sacrifice our ability to maintain and continue, right? In our world, there's a lot of happy hours, there's conventions, there's steak dinners, there's late nights, it's an environment that if left to your own devices can cause you to just really create some really unhealthy habits. The other side of it is this as well, is if you're out of alignment in these main areas of your life, if you're not fully present in each of those areas, then you start to struggle emotionally as well. And the concept that I talk about in the book is one that I borrow from Alex Hermosi in one of his podcasts. And I don't know if it's his idea or where he got it from, but he talks about a concept of being at rock top. And I think we've all can attest, or we can talk about, like, we've heard of rock bottom, where when you're failing and you have nothing and you're at the absolute bottom and it couldn't get any worse, that causes you to change. And that's super painful. And that makes sense. And yet there was a moment in my life where I had finally achieved some massive goals that I set for myself. I spoke on a national stage in front of thousands of other leaders. I was the #1 recruiter in the company for our region. I was in the top 20 out of the entire company nationwide. I had hit the goals and I've done the things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I was out of authenticity. I was out of integrity because I didn't like who I was. And so I was developing some really bad habits, and I was, just going down a path that was unsustainable and unrecognizable for me. Right. And I had to completely shake everything up. What happened is when you climb the mountain, one of the things that you discover when you get above the cloud line is you're alone. There's nobody up there, or there wasn't for me. Like, it was a lonely climb. And I went up there, and what I saw is when you get above the cloud line, you realize there are other mountains. And on some of those other mountains, there's more than one person. There are people, right? There are groups, etc. And when I realized that I was on the wrong mountain. And in order to get off of your mountain, where do you got to go?
Down.
You got to go back in the shit.
Mm.
And I had to just go, okay, this is going to be hard. We're going to have to go through this again. Now, you're not starting over, you're starting with experience. So that's the difference. You could, like, once you've climbed a mountain once, that first time, it's hard. The next time, you've got experience. So, however, you still got to go through the valley, and it's dark, and there are snakes, and there are pitfalls, and there are traps, and there are mosquitoes, and it's uncomfortable. And, it's hard to go through that. And so, in order to do that, I needed a whole new level of humility, a whole new level of commitment and dedication. And the thing is this, right? I had to change my identity internally, right? And I had to not become somebody who had a goal of running or a goal of going to the gym. I just had to be someone who never misses. I just had to be someone whose identity is around fitness and whose identity is around mental health through journaling, through affirmation, through meditation, through mindfulness, through going to my family coach, my own personal, so Frank was my personal coach. Like, he's a therapist, but he's my coach. And what's really interesting is I have people in my life that saw that as weakness. They're like, because they said, well, only broken people go see therapists. I said, no, the most broken people refuse to see therapists. Healed people see therapists, or people in seek of healing see therapists, see coaches, right? The most broken people are running out there saying, I'm the boss of me. Nobody needs to tell me what to do. Cool. Good luck. Good for you.
Right.
And what they're doing is they're letting, traumas and unhealed wounds bleed all over the people all around them. And then they want to blame them, and they say, "Oh, I'm not responsible for for your triggers." That's irresponsible. It's egotistical, and it's reckless, and it's disgusting. Frankly, the people that refuse self-reflection and any desire to become a better version and think that everyone should mold and fix themselves to be around them. Assholes, straight assholes. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to talk to you about it. So for me, the last 2.5, 3 years has been a very purposeful journey into my physical and my mental health. And I made a commitment to share that with as many other men as possible. So I'm a part of several different men's groups. One of them being the Balanced Business Dad. My buddy Dustin Hogue and RJ Campbell put together the Balanced Business Dads, and we create retreats and masterminds with other business fathers to create a safe space for men to be men safely with one another, and have a spot where you can go. Everybody in my world is looking to me for the answers, and I got none right now. I don't know what to do, and I'm scared. We don't have that as men, and that's a problem.
Right. What was the name of that group again, Matt?
The Balanced Business Dads.
Okay, is there
and you don't have to be a business owner. You can be an employee. You can be the CEO of you. and be
There
a
we
part
go.
of it. And you don't even necessarily need to be a dad. You may be a father figure to someone in your world. You may be an uncle. You may be a big brother. Like, you don't have to be a dad, right? However, that's just the group that we started because that's who we are. But everyone's invited.
I've seen the photos on social media, I
Yeah.
believe Facebook, where you guys are out in the woods, you're
Yeah.
learning together, getting your hands dirty, doing things guys do,
Yep.
grilling together, there's fires, all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
would one go to find out information about that tribe?
Oh, well, you can find them on Facebook, the Balanced
Okay,
Business
cool.
Dad. Yeah, we have a group on Facebook, the Balanced Business Dad. Anyone can reach out to myself on Facebook as
Okay.
well. One of the things you asked is where can people get more? And I'm really glad you asked. So I'm doing a half-day training around this book on Friday, August 16th from, I think we have it set up from, I don't have my glasses. This is another thing about getting older. This is the sobering part. I'm literally looking at my phone going, I'm doing the thing that like I never said I would do. So it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Friday, August 16th. It's free. It's free. There is a VIP option that has some additional benefits, including like a book and signed copies and all those other things. And yet, if you wanted to just attend the training, it's free on August 16th, Friday. And all you got to do is go to positivelypresentlive.com. So positivelypresentlive.com. Feel free to put that in the chat or across the screen or however you're going to edit this, and just go and sign up. There's a little video that's an interview that like resonates a little bit with what we're talking about, and we're going to go slightly deeper, and it's going to be interactive into that process, and we're going to spend 3-4 hours kind of going into some of these frameworks.
Very good. I'll drop the link in the comments. So just click on that. It'll take you right to it. And then where would one go to order your new book, Matt?
Great question. We're almost done. I don't have that exact spot finished. So the best place to be able to start finding out where and when the next book's going to be is at positivelypresentlive.com. So if you register for the free event and you can't make it, there's a 24-hour replay pass that's available for that. And then once I have your information, I'll know that you're interested enough in that we'll make sure that everyone who registers on that will get notified on where they can begin to pre-order their copies for the book.
Okay, very good. And then Matt hasn't mentioned this one that I want to mention, which is on the 26th. I just double checked the date from 10 to 1. Matt is going to join us. He's one of our keynote speakers at the event space in Kansas City, the Maverick, which is phenomenal. So if you're looking to have a breakthrough and go to the next level in your life, whether it's in relationships, your health and fitness, mental health, and your business, I promise you get in the room around this group of people, this tribe of 100, you're going to be glad you did. So I'll make sure to put the link below so you can.
That's going to be fun. And I'm going to be sharing something completely different than this conversation. And it's going to be way more in your face and real tactical.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, Matt. Congratulations. It's been incredible just being your friend and walking along your side the past few years. Because I remember at the prior company where you're in the spotlight, and as a result of your success in business, being the top in the region here and everything that you were accomplishing, I seen you there, and I've seen your growth and your breakthrough where there was like a tearing down and a rebuilding. And now you're like a rocket with jet fuel, man. You're just on fire going. So if you're in the Kansas City area, what an advantage. Actually, you don't need to be in Kansas City to reach out to Matt because he meets virtually, obviously. But he's a guy you want to get to know. Reach out to him, and I bet you'll be glad you did. Appreciate you, Matt. Thanks for being with us, man.
Man, thank you, Chris. My pleasure.
We'll see you.